Welcome, welcome. It is Monday night. Yay, Mondays. Love Mondays, right? We all love Mondays. We love the Mondays that we have off. You all love the Mondays that we have on. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But it is, when Monday hits and we don't have a webcast, it's like, wow, like this is such an easy day, because everybody doesn't work that night. So we are grateful to be here. We've had so much fun. I've had so much fun getting ready for this webcast. It's just been a blast. Pushing new levels. You all have had comments about things you want. Thanks so much for your feedback. It's terrific. Good, bad, or indifferent. I don't care. We like it all because we're all about you guys. If there's not a you guys, there's not a us guys. So thanks for being here. And it's beautiful weather here, at least. We're having gorgeous weather. This is the time that everybody lives in Dallas for, is this kind of weather. It only lasts a week, though, unfortunately. It'll be gone quickly. So as our webcasts have always been, or for a long time, in the very beginning we ask questions and answers for the first 15 minutes. And then today we'll go into our topic. Our topic today is a pattern of the month, is 4019, Diane's wrap dress. And the goal is to really make this pattern user-friendly, but something that everybody would love and that everybody would like. So for me, I started as a challenge, and I thought I'll use the different kind of fabrics. I want to make it once in a knit, once in a woven, once in a stretch woven, and then a combination. So I did all of those things, and I had just a lot of fun doing it. So hopefully when we get to that, you all will say, hey, I like that, I can do that, or I want to do that, or et cetera, et cetera. All right, so let's start with our questions. Hi, Peggy. Would you line or interface the Spring Swirls viscose woven when making the sheath dress? I would line that. I would line that fabric. It's a rayon, or it's a viscose. I think I would, and it's a light color, and I think I would line it just to kind of give it a little more oomph. Or I would fuse it. I would do one of those two. You don't have to do both, but either one of those would work. It is not a fabric, like if you put your hand through, you can't see your hand, even though it's a light fabric, which is what I'm always looking for. I love light fabrics that are not see-throughable, that you can't see through, I think is the better way to say that. So I like that fabric for that reason. I mean, it's a beautiful fabric, but I like that very. Peggy, are you going to make the catalog specials like you made in 2008 or 2009? No. We did that as... You remember 2009 was when the economy tanked, right before Obama was elected, 9/11, well, no, it was after 9/11, but I mean, right after Obama was elected and he was entering office, and October 2008, I'm sure if you had any financial interest, you recognize and remember that day that you lost all of it. But anyway, we just don't think mail order is the way we want to go. We just don't think it is. And mainly because, I don't know if it matters, but probably not. I don't think y'all want to know the reasons why, but probably not. I think we move so quickly that to make a catalog, print a catalog, mail a catalog, there's so much time where we're just moving faster than that now. So I think that's a slow process for us as opposed to what it was at that time. Hopefully that's a decent answer. Can I make 4019 Diane's wrap dress with Pontoroma fabric? You can, absolutely. Pontoroma is a great fabric. One of these that I made, this one that I have on is kind of like a Pontoroma. It's not, but it's kind of like a Pontoroma. It's 100% cotton, but it's Pontoroma-like, so yes, you can. Absolutely. You guys that smart that you have no questions? Or are you just waking up, or are you just falling asleep? One of those three. Everybody's okay? No questions? All right. Let's just start then. We can do that. We can break tradition. Diane von Furstenberg created this dress in 1974. The von Furstenberg family, Diane von Furstenberg, he was a prince. Her husband was a prince, or her father, I'm not sure which one it was, but anyway, so they she became a designer and she wanted to change the world, and she definitely did that. She definitely did that. It's amazing to me. I think that as I look at designers, each of them are known for something, but I don't think Diane von Furstenberg did anything other than the wrap dress. It's amazing to me that one thing, even though it's a good thing, could do that. So we love it. It's been around for many, many years, obviously, 40 something years. And it is what you would call iconic in nature. I think if, you've never had a wrap dress, there's got to be reasons why. So that's where I really want to start, is if you don't have a wrap dress, why don't you? Because what I want to do first is solve the fitting issues that we somehow assimilate with a wrap dress. I kind of want to go through those. I'm going to grab my pins really quick, because where I want to start is where we all should start. And what I'm going to start with is this muslin. So I did exactly what I'm suggesting that you all do, and I made a muslin. And that muslin is going to be the first step. And if you do that and have a little bit of patience with that, man, you can whip these dresses out in no time. Before we start with the muslin, I want to talk about dresses in general and recognize that there are three kinds of dresses. There's three kinds of tops. Let's talk about that first. There's a t-shirt, a blouse, and a jacket. And what we should know when I say each of those is different things come to mind when we wear them. T-shirt, a blouse, and a jacket. Each of those are completely different one from another. And so all of them can be made into a dress just by simply adding length. So every time we look at a dress pattern, we should ask ourselves, number one, what kind of dress is this? Is it a knit top dress? Is it a blouse dress? Is it a jacket dress? Because the structure of all three of those, the fit, the fabric, all of those are different. And if we know what we want and we know what it is, then we can marry those two together. So first we have to understand is, what do we want? This, in this envelope, is a blouse dress. So what that means is there's no shoulder pad. That means there's no tie interfacing used. It's not lined because it's a blouse. You don't line blouses. There's not a two-piece sleeve. It's a one-piece sleeve. It's a blouse sleeve. Just think blouses. It doesn't mean it can't be switched out or changed, because we're going to plenty well do that tonight. But you do have to understand the base that you're working with and what it is you want, which one of those you want. If you go to use a woven fabric, then it would be like making a t-shirt into a blouse. You probably won't like that. So sometimes I think, I got an email earlier this week, and a woman was saying to me that she had to make 3 changes, and those 3 changes were too much. And I think that I, at some point, recognize that our expectations are generally out of line, I think, with where they should be sometimes. What amount of changes should we have to make to a pattern? What amount should be in a good pattern, and what amount should we have to change? And I think that's a really good focus of discussion that we should have as sewers. Recognize that sewing isn't something everybody can do, because the skill set is acquired and there's a learning curve that's necessary. So by saying that I sew, for me, I'm really proud that I can sew. I'm really proud that I can put it together and make it work how I like it to be, because it's a skill set. All right, so going back, if I choose to make this dress out of a knit, I want to make a knit muslin. If I choose to make it out of a woven, I want to make a woven muslin. This dress doesn't have a shoulder pad or a 2-piece sleeve. I could add that in and make a wrap dress that way. Diane von Furstenberg, as far as I've seen, hasn't done it that way. So, but hey, you could be the new thing. So that's why I did this in a knit, because the dresses that I made were knit. If they were woven, then all I was going to do was add seam allowance. The difference between knit and woven in this particular dress really comes down to 2 things. If we go back to L, C, and D, the lengths do not change. Knits or wovens, the length, the L's do not change. The C's will change because the wrap dress has to be somewhat firm to my body. Otherwise, the neckline will gap. And then of course D, the depth will not change either. So the only thing that changes when I go knit to woven is circumference. But I said two things. The other thing is the armhole. Because that's a style issue, it doesn't fall under L, C, or D. And so recognize that if I decide to make it into a knit, I'll probably want to bring in my knit template, my knit armhole, and my knit sleeve. Those would be, the one I have on is a wrap dress. It's this pattern, but I used a knit sleeve and a knit armhole. And I just drew that onto the base and I was good to go. And I went down in size. I went to a smaller size, I went to fewer circumference, but all the angles stayed the same. All right, but I did it after I made my muslin. So we're going to start with the muslin, and I need you all to ask questions. Why don't you have a wrap dress? That's my question that I'm going to put out to you, and I want to hear, if you don't have a wrap dress, why don't you? All right, and we can answer that as we're going along. All right, so in this case, I'm going to do L, C, and D as we drape this dress. And Brett, if you don't mind, just interrupt anytime. Is that all right? Okay, so let's start with L. And again, if you're dealing with silhouette patterns, if you're dealing with this pattern, there will be no length changes from shoulder to bust. I've had the question asked through privately many, many times. The Princess seam has a 6-inch error factor. No one's out there 6 inches off where this pattern is. So because of the Princess seam, you don't have to worry about, is the fullest part of the bust at the fullest part of your body? Absolutely it is. Okay, we're going to cross that off our list. Then we're going to turn it around. Because generally I have in all of the patterns put in what we call, in the ready-to-wear industry, a floating waist. That basically just means I have an error factor of about 5 inches in the back. And I've had little ladies, and when I say little, short ladies in classes who are, I had one in Atlanta, she was a whole 4'11", or maybe she was 5, I don't think she was, but anyway, she made 1950, which is Max's jacket, and she made it up and put it on in a muslin, and she couldn't believe that we didn't have to change the length. And we don't have to change the length because I did what's back there is known as a floating waist. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but don't be surprised if you don't have to change it. You might have to change a sway back. There might be a sway back, and this one I don't, but also keep in mind that I can pin this in a little bit to create this and bring this in closer to my body, and I should, because the wrap needs to fit snugly through the waist so that the actual neckline itself doesn't bag. So all I'm going to do is, if you're by yourself, just pinch back there. Just kind of reach back there, pinch how much needs to come away, and just take it away. All right, so there's my back, and I kind of put in my length, and I did it by stitching closer to the body. And I don't have to. I could leave it loose, but I'm going to tell you that if the back is too big and you start wrapping the front and tying it up tight, the back will pull to the front, and you're kind of defeating your purpose. So it's going to have to be right about at body, right at your body size all the way around. All right, so length is done. The hip line, there's never going to be a time when the hip line of a dress and the hip line of your body have to align, so you don't have to worry about that. The bust is okay. I've pinned in the waist. Again, you could take in a little bit more here so that it's a little more snug to your body. All right, so let's do circumference, which is kind of what I'm doing when I'm doing this. The circumference is actually dictating where the waist is going to be and the circumference here. So I'm just going to run these up a little bit and make sure these are changes.
There's a few.
Okay. Wrap dress. I don't have a wrap dress because usually the neckline is too low. I absolutely agree. Now, what I did on this particular base, which I don't have it on. I mean, I have it on, but I changed it on the one I have on, is it has a collar. And I had never seen a wrap dress with a collar. And the reason I did it is because the collar allows the neckline to actually be higher than a V-neck. So V-neck is what I have on, and I've made it, and I'll show you how to make it. But the collar is actually higher. So if you really want a higher neckline, and the reason it's higher is because you see my wrap point starts way at center front. Rather than if I have a V-neck, my wrap point starts way over here, and so it leaves more exposure. So anytime I have a collar on the wrap dress, then I'm going to have more coverage on my neckline. So while I did the pattern, I put it higher and I put a collar because I'm going to show you how to take it all away if you don't want it. And then I'm going to show you how to give yourself a couple French curve positions where you can cover, where you can open up the neck or cover neck, but still have a V-neck. You can do both of those options. We're going to do just French curve positions is all it is. But good, I appreciate that feedback. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm just taking away circumference until I'm getting to where it's just a little bit closer to my body. And that's where I need the wrap to be. I don't need it to be a negative ease. That's not what I want. But I do need it to be pretty close to what I am. It can be a little bit bigger. There can be some ease, but you don't need a lot. All right, so that's L, that's C, and then we'll do D. And whenever we do D, I always start at the top. I start at the top and do the shoulder seam. So the angle of the shoulder seam, it's not possible for a pattern, any pattern company, any pattern maker, any ready-to-wear company to do a shoulder seam and get it right for all the many people and styles and shapes out there. So shoulder seams are something you've got to understand, and you really got to understand how to make them for you. The easiest way is to drape them, because after I cut out the pattern, they're very easy to change. In most cases, most of us have more sloped shoulders than what the pattern is. So I can merely, and you can see when I do that, it cleans up the gapping around the armhole. If you have an armhole gap here, the shoulder seam is many times to blame. And you can see when I pick it up here, I can get that to be much cleaner. And that's where we go into, sometimes into panic mode. We say, okay, I've changed the armhole. What do I do to the sleeve? You don't change the sleeve. There was nothing wrong with the sleeve. Leave the sleeve exactly where it is. I'm going to make the armhole smaller, and then I'm going to take the tissue, I'm going to put it back on, and I'm going to lower the armhole the same amount, front and back, so the armhole is going to be restored exactly where it was before. It's just going to start at a lower point and go to a lower point. So very, very simple to do. Remember, this is a blouse armhole. In this particular case, it's going to be a blouse sleeve. If I'm using a knit, then it could be that when I've taken this up, I don't even need to do anything to the armhole. It could probably be that it's exactly what I need my armhole to be now for a knit. So if I put my knit arm template on there, I'll say, oh, it's perfect. I don't need to do anything. So you change the angle there, and that's it. I'm good to go. Okay. The wrap dress, don't have a wrap dress because with wide hips, they all reveal too much when sitting. Oh, too heavy, too fat to wear? Not true. Not true. It just, but I totally understand because they don't wrap far enough. So that's another thing when I did this pattern, and I did copy Diane von Furstenberg, but there's lots of imitations of these wrap dresses and some are not as good. What you want to do is make sure that the wraps all the way. I'll show you on this mannequin. See how this is wrapping all the way to this seam right here? That's what you want because you have a full 8 inches that is covered underneath. So this is the pin I put in place, but you can see I can open it up and I've wrapped here and wrapped there. So if there is enough circumference, then it won't unwrap when I go to sit. And I'm going to show you the one I have on. I'm hoping you can see this, you guys. I know it's dark. But what I did is I put this 2-ended zipper. And one of the reasons I did this is so many times with our wraps, we don't like that they're open. And so this zipper, it's a 2-ended zipper. And what I did is I started it at the bottom, okay? And I put the zipper at the bottom. And so I can actually zip this all the way down. I don't know if you can see this. Anyway, you can zip it all the way down and see the whole dress now is wrapped closed. Or I can lift it up and I can leave as much exposed as I want to, but this is all still the dress. I mean, this is a tunic. I made a tunic out of it. But what I'm saying is, if you put buttons or if you put a zipper like what I have, you can control how much is going to come unwrapped when you go to sit. But let me just tell you that it's not because you're fat that dress unwraps. It's just because it's poorly made and it doesn't fit like it should. And that's the good news, because we can absolutely fix that by making sure when you do the circumference that if I have to go from one size to another, the reason I did the princess seam is because I have all these seams to add, and I can easily go from one size at the top to one size at the bottom. and have enough fullness that it fits beautifully. Okay? I love the zipper in this, by the way. It's just, I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Okay. I meant to write, why does the hem on a wrap dress often askew in the front at the overlap? Simply because the hem is only a sign. It's manifest that something up here is wrong. So now that we're doing depth, I'm going to have you watch for a couple of things, and you're going to need to watch for them to make sure that your wrap dress wraps correctly. The shoulder seam is one, not a big deal, you'll get that. The other is the bust size correct? And when I'm looking at the bust size, you can see there's a little loose fabric here. That's not circumference, that's actually length. And y'all have seen this before. It's a two-ended dart. It's going to start at the side seam, and it's going to taper to nothing. It's going to look like a bust dart. It is a bust dart. But because it starts in one seam and ends at another seam, it's not going to be in my final garment. Okay? So it's going to start at the side seam. It's going to end at the princess seam, and you can see how that just cleans everything up. It's going to go both to the front and to the back, and what it's doing is it's changing the angle of my pattern piece, and it will lay closer to my body, and it will not gap. So this is really important, that if you have extra fabric over here, that you fix that. And that cannot be fixed in the final, and you see the difference before and after. That can't be fixed in the final garment. That needs to be fixed in the muslin. And that's, I would say, of all the things that could go askew, this is probably the number two. There's one more thing I'm going to show you that's really popular. But that needs to be fixed. Again, it's not circumference, and it's often mistaken for circumference. So the dart is the largest at the side seam, tapering to nothing at the front, tapering to nothing at the back. The other thing that goes askew that I've had to change on mine is right here at the neck edge. And what I want to do is pull it tightly. This is the reason why a lot of them hang wrong at the bottom, because this length is too long. And because it goes through the hollow part of our body, if we have a big chest, then for some reason they make it all big rather than fixing it. I don't know why they do it. But you're going to see the fix is a dart, and it's going to start right here. And again, this is not in the final garment. This is just simply something that is going to be in the muslin. I'm going to sew it in the muslin, and then my final fabric will just be shorter here than what the original pattern was. This has everything to do with how large the bust is. And really just that all of, we just have a little bit different shaping. And so this is something that I need you to understand how to do so that you can fix your own pattern. And what you can see is it's much tighter across the body as it wraps than without it. I can stick my hand in this side, I can't this side. So that's what I want. I want it tight against my chest, and that's a tweaking that you really have to do with it being your own personal pattern. They can't do that on a retail level. They can't do that, in ready to wear. There's just no way for them to tweak all that. They can do it for the masses and they can do okay, but they can't get into this great stuff on what you can do at home, which is so the advantage of us making our own. We just have to know about it. Minor little details. We just have to know what we're doing. All right, so that is it. Of all these dresses I fit on all these bodies, these are the only things that I've really seen. So you should be good to go with your dress. Okay, know that there's those few things. Tweak it up. You'll be amazed at the difference. Now we're ready to play, and we're ready to have some fun. All right. Also, please show 4019 on camera. Oh, if I have to, I'm sorry, I missed the first part. If I have to open up a dart across the back for rounded shoulders, how do I correct gapping at the neck back without a neck dart or shoulder dart? If you have gapping back here, your horizontal slash across, please don't do that automatically. This is a princess seam, and I have allowed for a rounded back in here. I'm not saying you don't need it, but I have fit this dress on a lot of women, and they have not needed that rounded back. But if you need it, And you'll know that you need it because this will pull down and it will gap just like what you said. Slash here right through the blades and then open it up. That slashing will stop the gapping. However, if there's a gapping and you don't need this slash, it's going to be fixed in the shoulder angle or these princess seams. The princess seams are darts. So what that means is that back dart that's typically at the shoulder seam is built into these seams. So it fits beautifully. Don't anticipate problems even if you've had them in other patterns. Silhouettes. I mean, don't just think that, they're like everything else. Okay. Any other fitting questions? Please show 419 on the camera. This is 4019. Is that what you mean? Can you correct a sway back by ending the darts at the vertical darts? Or how would you do a sway back adjustment? A sway back adjustment starts at center back. It has to go all the way to the side seam. It will go through the side, these princess seams. Don't end it at these princess seams. It won't be done correctly. Sway back has to go all the way to the side seam. Its definition is when center back is shorter than the side, not the middle of the back. The middle of the back is nothing. It's just where a random place where someone's decided a seam should go. So don't end a sway back there. Take it all the way to the side seam. Okay?
Now these are older questions.
Okay.
So do you want to go back?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back for just a minute and answer the questions that were coming in. I made 2750 goes really high on the back. What should I do to fix it? That's circumference. If it goes up really high, if I add more circumference, it will drop down. Unless I'm missing something, but that seems like a circumference issue to me. Hi Peggy, I modified 600 Classic Blast to have a hidden button placket. Would you recommend hemming the bottom edge before sewing the placket down the center? Yes. Yes. My dress fits nicely in the bodice, but it opens too much at the bottom. I want to widen the skirt to make a better wrap. Do I widen it at the center front area or elsewhere? All the way around. Whenever fullness is added to a garment, it's added equally all the way around, not just front, not just sides, not just back, equally. Okay? Okay. All right, so now we've got our muslin and we've got it fitted and we're excited. Let's go for it. Let's start sewing. So the first one I did was in a fabric, just the fabric.
Well, before we go.
Oh, sorry. Yes, one more. Sorry. Can you cut your fashion fabric from the muslin, or should you take the changes back to the tissue? I'm a big believer that you should cut it from the muslin. I think that you can do either one. There's not a right and a wrong. The only thing I would say to you is if you're taking it back to the tissue, don't do it at midnight, because I cannot tell you just how many mistakes I see all the time in workshops, even when we're in workshops. So we make the muslin, they make the dress, something came out wrong, we go back to check it. Oops, I forgot to make that change. We're just talking, we're busy, the phone rings, whatever else we're doing. Just focus on what you're doing. I would make the muslin my pattern. I think that's simpler, and I would leave it at that. Okay? Okay. All right, so this is a silk that I decided to make it at. Love this, love this, love this. So I made this just like the pattern collar. I didn't make any pattern changes to it. The only pattern change I made is the sleeve. And because the dress was soft and floral, I really wanted something that was soft. I wanted something, I just wanted to change the sleeve up, and I'd seen this sleeve around. I'll show you how to do it real quick. And then I made the belt. Now, the reason I had made the belt is because I had gotten a request from customers. You guys, and I'm sorry, sometimes I don't remember names, or I don't even know who sent it in, but somebody wanted me to make this belt, so I made the belt. And I thought this was a great opportunity to make it because it's a wrap dress, and a wrap dress would be great to deal with a wrap belt. So I thought the two went together very well. Also, take that, and I remember Nanette Lepore, I'm sorry, but she does a lot of her belts, and she does them with, I'll put a pin here for right now. She does them with matching fabric to the dress on the back side of the belt. And I love that. Now, keep in mind, you probably can't wear it with everything anymore. So I made it with red leather. It only took one skin. It didn't even take a whole skin. So one skin will do it. And then I did the exact same on the back in the same fabric as the dress. But it's so cute with this dress. Like, it really looks like, it looks very not homemade. I don't know how else to say that. But I really like it, and it was really fun to make it. Your stitching doesn't have to be exact. You really just don't see all those stitch lengths, even though there's quite a few in there. I don't know if you can see all those. But anyway, so let me just tell you quickly how to do this. You're going to take the middle section, you're going to make it equal to your waist, whatever your waist is. Okay? Then you're going to take 2 more sections and make them a yard long. So the whole thing is going to be like 2 yards plus your waist size. But this is divided into 2 sections. So one is going to be 16 and one is going to be 16. They're, you know, like 15, what's a yard, 36? They're about 18 and 18, roughly like that. So 18, 18. Now the reason I made this, and I had this belt, and when I got this request in, I thought, oh, I've got one of those, and I never wear it. And I figured out why I don't wear it is because it's so wide. And so I just don't like this big wide thing going right through the middle of my body. So that was the best reason to make it, was because I made it so much narrower. This is only 2 inches wide. So going through my body, this is something I would wear where that's just too wide for me. I just don't, and I'm tall, so I can't imagine if you're shorter wearing a 3-inch wide belt. You can make it narrower if you want to. You certainly could. You're just going to sew all them together, the leather, then sew all the pieces again. You got to have 2 layers to finish everything off. So I cut 1 layer of the leather and 1 color the silk, sewed at one edge, pressed it, and then I edge stitched just like a cuff, all the way down. And then on between the main piece and the side piece, on one side you leave a little hole, because when you go to put it on, so that it lays as smooth as possible, one edge you see goes through the hole and one edge does not, but that leaves the whole thing nice and flat to where it comes through the front and ties. So it lays smoother, it looks nicer. I have seen them without a hole in them, but I really like this. This is just like a big buttonhole. But all I did was stitch, stitch, and leave the middle open. So it's very easy to do. And then you just start stitching down the middle. And like I said, it's pretty fun. I really had fun making it. So when you go to wrap this, you can see that one side goes through the opening. And that opening is going to be, because it's your waist size, it's a little smaller than your waist size. It's going to be almost to the back. So I'm going to take this through the hole. And then I'm going to come around with this. And then you tie in the front. If you want it to hang longer, you can make the ties longer. I just think it's way cute. I just really, really like this belt. And of course it matches on the back side. I just really liked it. All right. So that was the only change I made to this. And then, of course, the sleeve. And this is a blouse sleeve, remember, because it's a blouse dress in this example. So what I did is I took my blouse sleeve and cut it in half. Well, I cut it on the short sleeve line on your pattern. I cut it off there. Then I cut it in half. And then you can see I cut a wedge out of it. So that wedge, I just went about 3 inches down and I went about 2 inches in, because what I wanted was a little opening here on the side. Okay? And then I just top stitched this. So my sleeve cap itself, I just set the sleeve in just like normal. And then the banding, I just took a long piece. This is like 1 inch wide. I took a yard. And it was more pressing and patience more than anything else, because the way I sewed it on is I just did it like a cuff or the collar. The collar's in the instructions. What you do is you fold under the edge and then you edge stitch it in place. So I just did this whole thing like that. This is cut on the fold, so I cut it twice as wide. And then I just pressed it up, pressed the seam allowances under, lapped the raw edge, and then just kept stitching until I had gone all the way around, and then I just tied this. And that's my little sleeve. Okay? Just fun to do something different, and I've seen these sleeves for spring. I think they're just really cute. And to me, it kind of all went together. Okay. So we're going to put her back. So now I did the pattern, I made the muslin, I tested it out, I was really happy with it. Now I wanted to go to a knit. Yes. What about adding a soft flounce ruffle around the neckline? Would you recommend it? Sure. How wide? I would say I would give it at least probably 2 inches, even 3 inches. Any narrower than that, it's going to look funny. 3 inches, it needs enough width to kind of give a flounce to it. So if you make it about 3 inches, I think it'd be really cute. Your blue dress wraps right over left. The floral laps right. Is there any difference? No. I mean, in real ways, the wrap goes from the right over to the left. I wrap that opposite just intentionally to see if it would feel funny on. It doesn't. It doesn't. So I don't know if there's, you know, in the real world, this should wrap to this side because that's how buttonholes do on women's, but I went both ways. Okay. On the top you're wearing, does the zipper run right up, right side to neck edge, to top of princess seam on the left? Yes, but it doesn't go quite that far. It actually just disappears into the neckline here, and then it disappears into the princess seam here. But yes, it starts at the bottom, and then just zips up, and then just stops. But I really like it. You could start with another zipper and go all the way around. I just didn't want to, didn't need to, and you know, I really liked the way it looked, the way it was. Okay, Peggy, what should I do in order to camouflage my big belly using 4019? This is why I don't like the wrap dress. You shouldn't do anything to camouflage it. It doesn't need any camouflaging. I think a lot of times with women, whenever we, you know, this is a philosophy that I have, whenever we dress to hide, we have a tendency to show off what we're trying to hide. We wear large things over it. Don't do that. The silhouette of this dress will be the best thing you can do. Don't make it too tight and don't make it too loose. Just make it just make it skim the body. And that's the best way. Don't try to camouflage it. Put a nice wrap. The zipper is a vertical look, which is why I did it. Look at something like this, you guys. That would camouflage a tummy because the fabric is so beautiful. The vertical lines are so beautiful. No one is going to look at your tummy. I know we are. And that's because we're very self-conscious of our bodies and, you know, where they are now, where they weren't 20 years ago. That's why we're self-conscious of it. We knew what we used to be. So if we think about just the rules and go by the rules, run vertical lines, give ourselves a great focal point, that's our best case scenario. And don't worry about the camouflage. It's not necessary. All right, so in this case, this is a panel print. This is one of the fabrics we have, and I did it in the front and I did it in the back. And then the rest of it, I just went, now this is a stretch woven, and then I went with just, this is our best black knit. It's a beautiful, beautiful drape, the knit collar. It just all works really well together and not hard at all, quick to sew up, just really fun and really easy. I made this a tunic so I could wear it with black leggings, because for me, just right now, I was going to get the most use out of it if I could do black leggings as opposed to a dress. That was a dress, this is kind of a shorter top. But again, no real changes, just the panel, and you can see the contrast of the fabrics, just beautifully done. I didn't put a tie on this one, I just put a little gunmetal clasp, simply because I wanted to reduce the bulk of the ties and thought it would be a nice offering. All right? Okay, so then I wanted to change the pattern up a little bit, and so I did this right here. This is the wrap dress, believe it or not. I know it doesn't even look like the wrap dress, but it's the wrap dress. It's the wrap dress as a knit. So I did a knit top, so then I brought in my knit sleeve and my knit armhole, and I want to show you kind of what I did to the pattern. Now, before I go into that one, I want to show you what you can do on the neck edge, because this is what the pattern looks like. It's a double-breasted down at the waist area, because that's what a wrap is. It's a double-breasted, but it's single-breasted up in here, so it wraps from one side to another. Did we have a question on that? You're okay? You sure? Okay, so if I take my French curve, and you can either put if you have a V-neck that you really like, I would recommend you put the curve down on that V-neck. The French curve will fit on every neckline out there. So you could duplicate a neckline you have. If you don't have one, if you want to experiment around a little bit, then you'll just have to experiment around a little bit. But do a muslin if you're going to experiment around. So I actually put the curve this direction. So you notice right at the neck edge there, the shoulder edge, it's coming in. If you wanted to cover more neckline, you can still start at this exact same point, but you could bow it out. And that will cover up quite a lot more neckline. It's actually amazing the difference if you bow it out versus if you bow it in. It's actually like 2 inches. It's quite a bit. So if you just feel like it never stays exposed, you know, or it's always opening. But going back to the fitting, if you change, let's go back to this, our little mannequin here. If you shorten that neck edge and just pull it up right in here, it won't gap because it can't gap. There's nowhere for it to go. If the length is correct from shoulder to waist and all of that is done correctly, it can't gap. It won't. So the reasons we have fears of it gapping is simply because they haven't fit well, and it's hard to fit well on a mass basis. So try not to use the store-bought experience of unwrapping and all of those other things as what you think your experience is going to be when you're making it. You've got the control now, and you can understand where to change it, where to fix it, and make it work for you. All right. So on this wrap, what I did now is I took the French curve and I did 21 at the base of the neck. And I just kind of pitched it a little angle like this, and I went from 21 all the way out to 6. So I went all the way out here. So you know what happens when you have a wrap like that? See, this goes all the way from 21 to 6 out there. But then what I did is instead of going straight down, you can see I cut over. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Everything else is done the same. I've done 2 layers, everything else, no changes. What I did do though is I put a little gun, the fireman clasp, a little gunmetal clasp. So if I wanted to, I could actually close it and wear it closed like that, or I could wear a shirt and belt it underneath. I could wear it either way. I love this fabric, absolutely love it. You could have, both sides are actually nice on this fabric because I could see a little bit of difference. I decided and I had a facing anyway, I was going to go ahead and face it. But once I did this and I took the French curve and I went way over here, you can see I went 21 to 6. I brought way over here. Instead of going straight down, which is where the pattern goes, if I saved this is my piece I cut away, and you can see it's right there. That's the piece I cut away. So what I did is after I came way over, I went back into the center front. It's marked on your pattern, so come way over and then just curve it right back into the center front and go down. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you just have too much fabric in here. And I actually did that at first, and then I cut this away because it was just so much better. I love this now, and I just didn't like it with all the fullness there, and I didn't like it closed. But I love this now. This is great with just jeans and a white t-shirt, but it's a great cover-up. And then what I did is I did a little elastic all through the back. So you can see this is like a little bit of a mesh netting. You can see how light it is. And I took the elastic and I went all the way from the front seam, the front princess seam, all the way to the other side, the front princess seam. And this is so cute on. It's just adorable on. That mannequin just does not do it justice, but it's really, really cute. All right, so let's go back and answer your questions. When making the wrap dress in a knit, the pattern says to go down a size. Would you literally cut another tissue size, or would you just use larger seam allowances with a serger? All right, I appreciate you asking that question, because when I say go down a size, I literally do not mean go down a size. For you, it could mean an inch. It could mean 2 inches. It could mean 4 inches. When I say go down a size, I just mean go down in size. So the next size, for instance, I had an email this week, and the lady said, I made up a size 2, and it was too small. So I made a size 4. It was too big. Why aren't we measuring, you guys? Why aren't we measuring our garments? They have the answers, and those answers are not answers I can give you, and you'll save a tremendous amount of time by taking your wardrobe and measuring your wardrobe. I know I've said it a million times, I'll probably say it a million more. But it's so important, and it'll save you a lot of frustration. I think that's what I worry about, is your frustration will max out the pattern. Okay, I want to go just the opposite. So when I say go smaller, I don't know how much smaller that is for you. I know for me how much it is, and I know a seam allowance is not enough for me. But that's me, and that's not going to work exactly for you. Okay, does that help? I hope. All right, can you please show the back of the red belt where it goes through the buttonhole? Yes. The buttonhole, though, is not the back of the belt. The buttonhole is both sides of the belt. So the buttonhole is where this is the main piece, okay, and that's my waist size, or a little less than, okay. Then you have two additional pieces that are identical that are going to be your yard. So say 18 and 18. The buttonhole is on one side in between the main piece and the next little piece, so that when I wear it, because what you recognize is one side's going to go on top, but one side's got to go under. So this is the side that's going to go on top. The buttonhole allows me to put it under, but then bring it around and wrap it, and so that they can both come to the front and tie, and you can see I get a completely smooth back side all the way around with that little buttonhole. Okay, got it now? And don't worry about how wide to make the ties or any of that. Just go. Just make it, and you'll see that, oh, I like this, and you'll change that. If you kind of play with it, which is really what I was doing, it was just fun. It really was just fun. And like I said, you could do leather on both sides. One skin is enough to do the leather on both sides. I just had seen belts that were done in the store, and they matched the dresses, and I thought, man, I've never had a belt like that. I want to do that. I want to make that. So I did. And I love the backside. And you know, I guess you could certainly wear it wrong side out. Never thought about that until just now, but I could put it on that dress with the wrong side out. It looks like it has red piping on the edges. That's pretty cute. Do you like that, Brett? I like that. So there you go. We just created a new style. The red, though, I mean, I guess I liked, I don't know. You know, who knows why we do what we do? Sometimes we just do. All right, questions. And then I want to go over the dress I've got on, or the version that I've got on. Are we okay? Questions? How is the PoM different from 650, the no gap wrap? Well, the top isn't any different. The top is the same, but I've just added the length of the skirt, and of course shaped the bottom, because it's a straight skirt. Anytime you have a straight skirt, you've got to shape the bottom. So I did all that shaping for you. But the top is the same base, because it's a blouse. It's going to be the same base. So it just depends on whether you like patterns and you like to add the lengths, or whether you don't like to. How did you put the zipper in the sleeve in the top you're wearing now? Yeah, let's talk about this. So this was a top I had seen in Nordstrom's, and it had the sleeve is zippers. Okay, so it actually could zip off. I'm not going to zip it off, but what you can see is it's the whole cold shoulder effect, which I told you all I like, but I don't like. I don't like it because it's too normal to me. It's too easy. It's too non-creative. But I really liked the zipper portion, because you can kind of decide how much you want to expose or not. So you actually have to use two zippers in order to get this to do like this, because they zip from the underarm up and from the underarm up. So I've got actually a tag back here and a tag here. You've got two zippers that are going to come together. You don't have to go all the way underneath, and in fact I didn't. I stopped it like right around the notch. So the zipper only goes from the notch to up to there, and from the notch in the back up to there. And the bottom portion I just sewed right into the dress itself. All right, so very simple to do. All you do is you finish your edges, or if you don't, it's a knit, you don't have to, but you turn them under and you put the zipper underneath and just top stitch it. and then you sew the sleeve together. I mean, you sew the base on and then turn the seam allowance under to do the zipper. So it's very, very easy. Probably the most confusing thing is because I'm using two zippers and they're both separating zippers, not to get the parts mixed up, because otherwise you can't zip either zipper. So you got to make sure you put half of the same zipper here and the other half here, and not this half over there. You guys know what I'm saying. That's the hardest part of the whole thing. Other than that, it's really easy and it's really fun to do. And the top that I saw was $395. It had zippers in both sleeves. I decided, because I was doing the zipper here on the wrap dress and it was asymmetric, I only wanted one opening up here and not both. So my one zipper goes up here and then the sleeve's over there, and I really like it. I think Brett looked at me a little funny when he saw it, but I still have my ties underneath. And I just, like I said, really like it. One thing that was mentioned earlier, if you don't like how much a wrap dress unwraps, you could just zip the zipper and keep it closed. I opened it because I wanted the zipper just to be in effect a zipper, but in fact it's only a couple inches away from each other, so it's acting more like a tie than a zipper. But still there's a tie on the inside. That it's important in a wrap dress that the inside be snug. Otherwise, if it's loose and goosey, then the wrap won't stay wrapped. Okay? All right.
Do you feel it under your...
No, I didn't put it. I stopped it at the notch. So there's nothing to feel under there because it's not there. So I stopped it I started at the front notch, stopped at the back notch. So I sewed just the bottom of the sleeve in and then top stitched the rest of it. Edge stitched. No, it's more like a top stitch. No, it's an edge stitch. It's the stitches keeping the sleeve to the zipper. And then I just zipped it together. Really simple to do. Took a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, but very easy to do. On the blue cover-up, what is on the cuff? On the cuff, oh no, that's just the shirt underneath. It's just a long sleeve shirt. It's just, there's nothing there. This is a knit sleeve and it's just a straight knit sleeve. I did a 3/4 sleeve because I push it up, and that's just kind of how I wanted to wear it. I love this, just love this little top. I'll probably wear it in a little webcast or something we're doing. I just really, really like it. Lightweight. To think that it's the wrap dress pattern, I thought it was really fun. Did you line the feather material on the black tunic? No. Remember, this is a blouse dress. Remember? And blouses are not lined, so there's no lining on this. Now, it doesn't mean there's not a facing. There is a facing. And so I only use this fabric when you buy it. It comes with 2 panels on the fabric. And because I only wanted to use 1 yard, I only used 1 panel here and 1 panel in the back. So I decided I didn't want to use a whole nother yard just to face this with. So everything else became black. So the front facing is black. Both the front and the front facing on the other side are black. The collar, the side, the sleeves, everything else is the black knit. Okay? So this is so pretty on. Just really fun to have this on. And again, such a vertical look. And if you notice what you want, when we talk about tummies and hiding, and not hiding, but really enhancing ourselves to look the best, I want a focal point. And this is such a beautiful focal point. It's a beautiful vertical focal point that no one's going to notice a tummy because the impact of the garment is so strong. That's what I want. That's what I want in my clothing. Okay? That's when you know you kind of hit a home run. Okay. Why does it need to be a separating zipper? Well, because I'm not sure which one you're talking about. This one does not need to be. It would not need to be a separating zipper. You could just use 2 zippers. That's probably what you're asking. This one has to be, because otherwise you can't separate it and get it off. But probably you're talking about the sleeve. Does not have to be. I just used my separating zippers because I had them and they're pretty. And I was concerned about the ends and what the ends looked like. That's kind of the look of the garment, is to have those little ends there. The zipper on your blue dress is like a mojo jacket. Blue dress. Mojo, I don't know what a mojo jacket is. Motorcycle jacket, maybe? I don't know. Sorry. Don't know what a mojo jacket is. Are we good? All right, so the goal here is for you to see that this wrap dress works for everybody out there. It's a classic. Not only is it a classic, but it's such a flattering shape. I've got vertical lines. They're all going up and down. It's the best way to make myself look the thinnest. It's a sheath dress with a little bit of fashion twist to it. And I've got much more flexibility as I do so many different things with it. So hopefully you'll really maximize it. Take the time. Do a muslin. Once you get the muslin done, just keep on manufacturing after that. Because, like I said, once you get the muslin, you get it fitted, I can just go and make. And a couple of these things I did without even trying them on from start to finish. At the end, I put them on and I was just, oh, this is so much fun. This is so much fun. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Good day from Australia. Hi. How did you make the V-neck on the blue tunic? That's just the French curve. So you take the pattern, and I showed this a little bit earlier, so you'll have to hit rewind, but you can either put it this way or this way. So what I would suggest, it's just a pattern change is all it is. Just hit rewind, go back, and I showed everybody how to do that. I think I've shown it several times to where you probably know how. All right? Anything else? The blue wrap. Could the sweater pattern be a base for this? Yes and no. I don't have princess seams. So whenever I have princess seams, I get a lot more shaping throughout the garment. Even with the elastic, I think it's just a different look. I like the vertical seams going through the back. Could it be? I mean, of course it could, yes. The answer is yes. Anything could be the base. Absolutely. Could be, yes. How much did you shorten the dress to make the tunic? I took 10 inches off. That's a good question. I took 10 inches. But again, that was for me. I wanted it to be, as I put my arms down, right as I grab the bottom, that should be a length that works for everybody. Put your arms down, grab the bottom. That works. Are we good? We still asking questions? Well, wait a minute. We can wait a minute. Good day, Australia. That was cute. Good day. See, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. Are we 12 hours exactly? You guys just woke up. You're having a cup of joe, right? And watching the webcast. Is the sheer wrap lined only on the front pieces? You mentioned it was 2 layers. Yeah, it's not lined. It's just a facing. It's the front and the front facing. So it's 2 layers right there. And the way you make this wrap dress in every case is you finish off this edge and then you sew it to the princess seam side panel. So in every case, that's all finished, and then you sew the 2 layers into the one, and that's how it finishes it off. Because it's a dress, because it's a blouse, because there's no lining, the construction methods are more unique to a blouse than other things. Okay? Is the black part of the tunic vision the black part of the tunic version a jersey or ponte? Neither one. It's a black cotton knit. A jersey implies poly usually, and ponte implies poly usually also. So it's the black cotton knit that we have on the site. And again, because my goal was to, I'm going to say I have a tendency to enjoy casual clothes that I feel like I can wear every day. And so while I love fancier things, I have a tendency to take fabrics and want to make them a little more casual in their feel. So I'll put cotton as opposed to putting a black fabric that would dress it up. I try to come and dress it down. And the fabrics make a lot of difference when you do that. What is this right side of the Ponte Roman knit? Dull, shiny or dull? Dull. Go for dull. Don't use shiny. Shiny exaggerates size. I don't think any of us want to look larger. Probably somebody out there wants to look larger, but not many of us. So put the dull side to the inside. Should the tie be at the waist or below it? You can do whatever you want on this. Oh, this tie, I'm sorry. If you go a little bit above the waist when you do this, it'll hold it a little more firm, especially on the inside. That's a good question. I should have mentioned that. I actually put the tie right under my bust and then like to the above my waist a little bit so that it holds it closer so that it's less likely to gap. The closer they're all tied together, the less likely they can gap as well. So on the inside tie, move it up toward the bust a little bit, and you'll have better luck in holding things stable inside. Okay? Good question. Did you add a back face into the non-collared version? No, I just serged it because they were all in knits, turned it under, and just top stitched. Just that little area, all I did was top stitch it. Right here. Very, very easy to do. Did you sew all of your garments? Of course I sew all my garments. Who else is going to sew them for me? I haven't found that person yet. Yes, I sewed them all. I love sewing, you guys. And what I love about the webcast is it's my job to sew. And that's a really good job description. I'm going to keep that job description as long as I can. And I don't know if I ever told you all the story of this gentleman I was dating years ago, because I've been with my sweetheart now for over 10 years. But anyway, years ago, and I remember first getting the business going, and, you know, it took a lot of hours, and I have children, and, you know, there wasn't a lot of time for him, or wasn't enough time. But anyway, he said to me one day, we've got to spend more time together. He goes, I think we should find someone to do your sewing for you. And the minute he said that, I remember thinking to myself, I have plenty of time to sew. I don't have time for you. And that was my red flag that he needed to go. Okay. Because I love to sew. You guys, I don't know if you like to sew as much as I do, but making that belt, that was just way too much fun. And of course I'm in here by myself, but I'm still going, wee, look at this stuff. So yes, I sew the garments. And I would feel dishonest if I didn't sew the garments and just showed them to you. And I also can't tell you all that you can find time, because if I have time, you all have time. How's that? All right. All right, we're going to wrap up for tonight. I'm going to say happy sewing from Silhouette Patterns. If we can help you in any way, please let us know. POM for April 4019, Diane's wrap dress. Happy sewing, everybody. See you in 2 weeks. Bye.